Hello Internet, it's time for another Wednesday serial. Given Monday, I'm going to try to keep this one a little relatively more palatable in time. This week I'm going through just stack interests, so what I wanted to read first, what I wanted to read last, that sort of thing. So obviously first up is Turtles 31. I love this issue. Something with Alpex came to mind when Raphael and her were kind of having a friendly tussle. She's actually a callback to a character from the Ninja Turtle Adventures, the Archie publication, called Ninjara. That was originally a Turtles enemy, but then turns out to be part of the group and became Raphael's girlfriend. I'll be curious to see if they start taking more aspects of her character and putting it in, because she was one of the most interesting parts of that adventure series, because she gave some different perspective and added something to the Turtles lore. I mean, on top of being a fox and just being visually dynamic for action and just being another cool character, it's also kind of nice to have a little more of a female air to it. So there was that. Also, there was a quick aside about their mother again. I really feel like I need to reread a chunk of the series because I feel like I missed something about how they're more family and were more human at one point. And I feel like in the months when I think it was the Secret History of the Foot Clan was going, I might have glazed over an important detail. But it seems like that's a closer heart part to this story. And I'm hoping to explore that a little more because it's one of the layers that I'm really enjoying about this Turtles run. So there you go. As nice as it was to have the quiet moment, as I talked about when this all started, it's kind of nice to have a little bit of action too. And now that we're there, like, every little frame has something a little extra in it for that time away from it. Burn the Orphanage is a crazy ride, and at this point I think trying to pick it up on this issue would be bizarre. It says 3 of 3, but it's launching into a monthly, and it's like some weird setup, and it feels like there's some weird video game action parallels, but that's like not where the focus is at the same time either. It's kind of a crazy ride, and as it feels more like setup this issue, it wasn't nearly as exciting as the previous two, but it's still a super enjoyable comic, and it's hard to argue its value. But it's a fun ride. If you haven't checked it out, a trade's coming out soon. Burn the Orphanage is one of the coolest things Image is putting out, and it's fun. It's not some weird crime thing. It's not like a lot of what people have been accusing of Image just pumping out. Like, this is a weird its own thing. The only problem with the printing of the issues is just by reading it I damaged the back. Never really experienced that before, so yeah, that's weird. There you go. Afterlife with Archie number 4 is really incredible at just being a zombie comic first. There's a moment in here where they have a whole tussle with some dogs and they set that up, and that's all well done. But then there's a moment of suspense where Archie's going, "Mom, Mom," and you think for a second like, oh shit, she's a zombie. But no. Turns out she's just in shock, and it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, they played the suspense card right. Like, it's not the worst possible thing, but you think it is for a second, they don't. It keeps a balance of, it's still a bad situation, but not everything is the worst thing possible, which actually makes it more interesting because it keeps you off balance enough to not just know what's going to happen next, because you don't just see one frame and you're able to guess the next 5 because you know, oh, it's just the worst thing possible. And that's where a lot of horror comics and stuff can fall apart for me really quick, because it just becomes unengaging because you're just like, oh, well, shit hit the fan, here we go. And instead it's like, oh, okay, there's a balancing act, there's some characters, and it's something very few seem to pull off very well. Green Arrow 29 winds around this Outsiders War in a weird way. And it's interesting that we get, like, in this case, the Axe Clan, different clans featured in every cover, but we don't really get much about the clans, and that's starting to feel like a missing element, since it's so highlighted in one way, but not really used in another. One thing that I really appreciated about the art this time is, I've been spending a little more time with it in the detail, that goes into the actual bows and arrows and weapons and all that, making it a much more martial comic, is very much there, and it really does add an element. So if you're looking for it, it's present, and it's not something missing in a comic, which, since they're making it much more of like a martial arts sort of thing, it's a much more noted and appreciated detail. Night of the Living Deadpool wraps up, and I found it kind of droll as I did the rest of the issues. I found myself kind of skimming through most of this issue. I caught the joke about Potion and Duga and Wu, and then there's kind of a witty ending for it all. This really could have been 2 or 3 issues. I am curious to see the next one, though. It's Deadpool versus Carnage. I'll give it a shot. Yeah, there you go. So that's it for comics this week. I just want to say thank you for watching. If you're looking for more comic-y goodness, check out my last video where I talked about the idea of a superhero genre. Mr. CD Camp started that off. My new Minute did another video. I'm hoping other people will discuss it because I think it's a really cool idea. That's all for this week. Peace.